the other. Now, in the 5 stages of this conflict management, you can say here the assertiveness, and here is the cooperation. Now, assertiveness is of a buyer. Buyer is assertive in the sense he is very rigid. Buyer is rigid. Then cooperation is from a salesperson. How cooperative you are. So here, if you take, there is a 3-dimensional matrix. So here, you have the high, medium and low intensity of your attitude, and here also high, medium and low intensity of your attitude. So take an example that you see assertiveness is high. That is the stage of confrontation of the buyer. So buyer is ready to confront with you. He is going to challenge you that you see whatever product you are talking about, he knows about that, he has used it and he disagreed with any of your statements. Under such circumstances, what exactly you can do? Now, if you come here, the assertiveness is high, which is raising confrontation, then your cooperation, if it is going to be low, then it is a stage of avoidance. In the sense, you can avoid, you can ignore that particular situation. If you do not want to ignore, then perhaps you also have to put your argument that since the assertiveness is very high, what is going to happen? It is going to increase the confrontation. But here you can see that it is going to compromise. It is going to compromise. In the sense, the confrontation is higher, but your cooperation is perhaps manageable. Your cooperation is acceptable, and that will lead to a compromise. Now, take an example. I am a buyer. You are a seller. You are selling a product to me. I disagree on 10 of your arguments, but you try to give a very good solution to me, or you are trying to bridge my entire confronting situation, at least for 5 important points. Then I am going to compromise. I say, well, I agree with you, provided you do this. So that is a compromise situation. So, if we can either, as a salesperson, either we can live in this situation, or we can live in the situation of accommodation. Or we can live in the situation of accommodation where the confrontation is low, in the sense you will not allow the confrontation to rise. Where the confrontation is low, and then your cooperation is higher. In a sense, if I start arguing with you, you try to moderate the entire situation and say that, well, you compromise with me at many of the stages so that I will not raise my voice, I will not raise further arguments with you, and whatever I say to large extent is going to accommodate. That is called the stage of accommodation. Now, these 2 situations, the compromise and accommodation, is one of the very, very good situations. Very good situations. Avoidance is not desirable. Avoidance is not a recommended strategy for salespeople. Because if you avoid, you lose your image. But here, if you accommodate, you gain your image. And if you compromise, you can sustain. You can sustain with your competitors, you can sustain with the future proposals to that particular client, to that particular account holder. So, these are the major 5 situations of conflict where you see the salespeople need to manage. And these are some of the tips, some of the strategies of managing. Then we move to another situation where particularly you see the Salesforce market is having very different conditions. Particularly you are going to make an account relationship here One of the situations is that demand is highly price elastic. Demand is highly price elastic. In a sense, the organizations are very much sensitive to the increase or decrease in the price. So, if this is the situation, then perhaps you have to consider that you will compromise with the buyer. Otherwise, you are going to lose, because this is the trend setter. The trend setter is that the elasticity of the demand to the price. So, demand is elastic in reference to the price. If you play with the price, demand is going to shift. So, you have to agree, or you have to compromise at one level of price to stabilize the fluctuation of demand. Then, coming to another one is that the product service offerings is complex. Now, if product and service offerings is complex, how many solutions you have, or how many answers you do have for the questions of the buyers. Now, take an example. Suppose if you are selling an automobile to me, I am an automobile engineer who would like to buy a car. Now, the issue is that always you have to think that, you see, buyer knows more than you. If buyer knows more than you, and if really it comes true, then if I am going to ask you 1,000 things about the engine, about the performance, about the durability of different parts, perhaps at one point of time, you may say that, you see, no, I do not know many other things. So, if you are representing a very complex product, then perhaps you must categorize yourself before the buyer that how many questions you can really answer. So, if you cannot answer, if you say no, it is also not good. Or if you try to build some kind of very peripheral answers, that is also not acceptable, because you see, buyer may react at one point of time saying that I'm not really agreeing with what you are suggesting. Then the heterogeneous consumer base. Heterogeneous consumer base. As my friend was telling, that you see, in his company, he has gone to one of the companies where you see every user wants a different type of product. That is the heterogeneous product. Your entire base of your sales is heterogeneous. It is not homogeneous. Under such circumstances, it is quite difficult for you to really make a sense of selling either to an organization or to a user. To whom you are selling, that you have to decide. If you are selling to an organization, you have to go with the policy of the organization and ignore the users. If your primary focus is user, then you say you focus on user. Then there is no need to go to the organization saying that, you see, whether you would like to have my product or not. Let individuals buy your product, then you can customize. So, one of the major important issues is that you have to determine what type of clientele you have, whether homogeneous or heterogeneous. If you are homogeneous, then you should go with the policies of the users or with the policies of the organization. But if it is heterogeneous, then it is difficult for you to go with the users, because every user will demand a different product. Under such circumstances, you can go with the policies of the organization and say that what organization wants to do. Then coming to the large number of product lines, this is again a problem. You have to choose your specific product, you have to choose precisely what you have to sell. Forget about the company's manner. If your company is having 32 products, that they are having 4 product lines, and each product line they do have the 8 products, perhaps it is going to be quite difficult for you to talk about all 32 products. So, the efficiency of a salesperson will increase if he precisely talk about the products he wanted to sell, and he will not really put himself on the background of companies or products. So, there are a couple of issues, and another issue is that this is another very significant, very important and logical issue. The products are perishable. Today you sell a product, but tomorrow the product may not really stand significance. But your company may stand significance. So what you are selling not only a product, you are selling also the image